Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In this training video, you're going to learn how to connect the I patterns with the predicates. Now remember from our training, the I patterns are related to the lead representational system. Your lead representational system is where your eyes move to access information. Now remember, the eyes are always moving into different quadrants to access information. And when you have enough sensory acuity, you can pick up on those eye patterns. So the first thing is you want to get a baseline for the eye patterns. So if the client is predominantly looking up and to their left or looking up and to their right, then they're accessing information visually. They may be visually remembering it, or they may be visually recalling the information. Your client or the person that you're speaking to might be using the auditory representational system to access information. And you'll see this with the eye patterns moving from their left to across to their right. If they're accessing information auditorily digitally, so through the AD, they'll be looking down into their left. If their lead representation is accessing kinesthetics, you'll see the eye patterns go down and to their right. So your job is to, first of all, just observe where the eyes are going to access information. Now, once you've got a baseline for where the eyes are moving to access information, you then want to tie in the predicates, the appropriate predicates for the appropriate eye location. So, for example, if you're having a look here on the screen now, and the person you're speaking to is looking up and to their left or up and to their right, you could use any of the words at the top of the screen. You could start with the word picture, show, clear, see, look, view. So if I was looking up into my left, you could say to me, Daniel, what is that picture that you remember? And the person will go, wow. Unconsciously, their unconscious mind will say, how did they know I was looking at a picture inside of my mind? For example, if they're looking up into their right, you could say to them, Daniel, what is it that you see? And at an unconscious level, they'll say, how did they know I was looking at something in my mind? So remember, the lead representational system gives you a clue to where they're moving their eyes to gather information. If they're looking across to their left, or if they're looking across to their right, you could say, Daniel, what does it sound like? You could say, Daniel, what can you hear? And they'll go, wow, at an unconscious level, how did you know this? And that depth of rapport will quickly deepen, and you'll be creating an unconscious rapport with their unconscious mind. If they're looking down into their left, you could say, Daniel, what are you thinking about? And if they looked down into their right, you could say, Daniel, how does that feel as they look down into the kinesthetics? By doing this, you'll become a master communicator. You'll be able to use predicates with power, and you'll be able to influence people because you're paying attention to what they're looking at inside of their mind. It's as if you can almost hear what's happening inside of their mind. You know when they're thinking, and you know when they're accessing those feelings. And as you use those predicates, as they use their lead representational systems to look for information, to remember what they heard, or to also access a certain feeling and criteria, you'll become incredibly persuasive. I hope you've enjoyed this training video. What you do now is you go out and first of all is you watch people's eye patterns, you follow their lead representational system, and then you tie in the appropriate predicates. Go ahead and do that now and watch your communication results improve immediately.